Hello and welcome back to International Journeyman, where, after a very successful period in charge of the USA, we are moving onwards and hopefully upwards to Brazil. Now, this is a very big promotion, and with just 4 years of managerial experience, I don't exactly feel super qualified for managing the world's number 2 ranked side. I also can't speak a word of Portuguese. Brazil have not had a foreign manager since 1944, and they are of course famously a country unhappy with footballing mediocrity. But apart from that, I can only see this going well. We did do very well with the USA to finish 3rd at the World Cup, of course beating Brazil on the way. So who am I to question the realism of this appointment? And with the Gold Cup ticked off, my focus now turns to the Copa America, although that is a while away. Our previous employers follow their Australian counterparts in apparently not realising we were already an international manager, but they do thank us for the success we had with the US team. The Brazilian media, meanwhile, apparently think that 50 games in 4 years is a wealth of experience. I'm not sure I agree, but still a nice welcome at least. Not sure the fans are totally on board yet. Now, it turns out not much happens in South America after a World Cup. The Brazilian FA currently have 0 expectations, and the game won't even let us schedule any friendlies until March 2027 for some reason. I think I'll just do some sightseeing. I do sack the absolutely awful assistant manager and hire Andre Lopez, who is just massively superior. As our first actual tournament is 2 years away, I'll go through my initial squad assessment now. I tend to try to keep squads more or less the same, to try to keep team chemistry as high as possible when you can't do any training. But with a wider range of players to select from than our previous roles, there may well be a few changes by the time we have any important matches. To start off, Neymar has retired from international football and won't be coming back. Casemiro likewise. We do have other options though. Alisson and Edison are both still knocking about and still pretty young for goalkeepers. There's also Bento. Defence is probably the biggest issue. Marquinhos is 32 but is still really good, while Eder Militao is entering his prime. Beyond that, it looks like Roger Ibanez and Igor are our best options. Fullback is definitely the weakest area, with Dodo and Vanderson at right back, and Renan Lodi and Chao Henrique at left back. Fabinho is still kicking at 32, and his is a position which is often ageless. I have picked João Gomes as his understudy for now, which also seems to be the situation they have at Liverpool. Bruno Guimaraes and Douglas Luiz are entering their peak, as is Lucas Paqueta, and Marcos Antonio will be. The attacking areas are just ridiculously stacked to be fair, and very interchangeable. I've gone with Rodrigo, Vinicius Jr., Gabriel Martinelli, Rafinha, Gabriel Jesus, and of course Endrick, who looks frankly nuts at just 20. And I haven't even considered people like Richarlison or Antony. A lot of these guys are pushing 30 and certainly will be in 2 years, but I reckon there's one good tournament in them still, and that's all we really need. Because apparently we don't need to do any work. I have no idea why we can't even do a friendly in our first few months. I mean, Brazil clearly have had friendlies in the months after a World Cup in real life. Whatever the reason, it's certainly really boring. I've not even had the first press conference yet. Ah well, at least it'll give me some time to at least learn some basic Portuguese. All I can say is, thank goodness for the holiday function. We make it to 2027 having been on 40k a week for months and doing absolutely nothing for it, and we're still somehow ranked 2nd. There is a big shock to report in Africa though, as the Gambia earn an unprecedented first African Cup of Nations title, beating Senegal. We eventually make it through to March, and I actually finally have something to do. With the time passed and the options we have, the squad has been amended a bit. Gabriel is just a better version of Igor. Mathazinho replaces the injured Wanderson. Marcos Antonio, upon closer inspection, is actually really good as a deep line playmaker, which is where he plays at Arsenal, and not solely in the Mazzala role that I was planning. This allows me to discard João Gomes for now in favour of our first regen, the legendarily named Dude. It's probably pronounced Duda, but I know what I'm calling him. He's only 19 and he looks quite frankly insane. Marquinhos then gets annoyingly withdrawn, so Bremer gets a reprieve. Ultimately, this is all only for a friendly with Scotland and Canada, but I'm just so excited to actually be able to do something with this team. In fact, as I'm playing this bit, it's nearly Christmas and I will be lacking the time and facility to record and edit for a bit, and I want to keep these weekly, so what I'm saying is we're giving these friendlies our full attention. I don't think we're getting any competitive games until World Cup qualifying starts in October, and what sums up the spirit of the season more than a fictional friendly between Brazil and Scotland? I do a team meeting to introduce myself. It's been 8 months since I got the job, so probably about time. Let's not disgrace ourselves against Scotland, lads. Here's my initial team. It will likely change over the next year and a bit. I think Endrick on the right is the way forwards. Now, we don't make the best start with Alisson called into action several times, and indeed 5 minutes in we give away a penalty, which he thankfully saves. This wakes us up a bit and we then go and get a penalty of our own, which Fabinho converts. Eder Militao is not someone I have marked for taking free kicks, but he can carry on taking them. And then Gabriel Jesus scores a delightful solo effort for 3. In the second half, Lodi does likewise before Rodrigo seals a fine opening victory, 5-0. I think that was worth the wait. And then against Canada, well, we do even better. A 6-1 win with a Gabriel Jesus hat-trick. Not a bad start to actual footballing life here in South America. So yeah, not the longest or most action-packed episode, but I wanted to do something this week and we're finally underway. I'll be back next week with the main event, the Copa America. I'm a bit more optimistic about it now.